Prayer 1. Yes. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to a public appropriate. Prayer 1, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. How do you amend a prayer that is unanimous? Prayer 2, that for the Senate to consider lifting this suspension or reducing the tenure of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration by the Nigerian Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. I don't think, Senator Baribe, as a landlord of the Senate, I don't think they heard what I read. So let me just repeat for clarity. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenure of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Nay. Lifting the suspension or reducing the tenure of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration of this case by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3.
Liberalism.
Prayer 3. That the Senate do suspend Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan with effect from 6th day of March 2025 from all legislative activities forward. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Lifting the suspension.
This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice. This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice. This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice.
Nobody makes any payment in NDDC without Godswill Akpabio's approval. When we first came to NDDC, on the day of going for the inauguration, he told me in the car that, Madam MD, if you don't do what I say, the same pen with which I used to sign your letter, it will be the same pen that I will use to remove you. He said the first thing I should do when I get to Port Harcourt is to change the dollars in the NDDC account. I was scared to do that. After that, he came to Port Harcourt 2 days after the inauguration. He said the first thing I should do is to make sure I change the dollars. I should remove Mr. Kaltungo from being legal and send him on compulsory retirement, that we cannot have a northerner be the head of the legal team, of the legal unit. He said I should remove all the other directors that refused to take his instruction during the time of Mrs. Agwagaga. That was the predecessor before I came. So he came also with a draft, which I've submitted, with a draft letter that I should write and put it on my letterhead, implicating Senator Nwobushi for collecting contracts in NDDC. I told him that I will not, I'm a lawyer, and that whoever alleges must prove. The fact that Senator Nwobushi is giving us trouble as IMC, you remember also that they did not recognize the IMC. I said I will not do that letter. He said I was ungrateful and I refused to do the letter. Dr. Cairo now said that he will do the letter. If Akpabio tells him to kill, he will kill before he asks, why did he kill? I said, for me, I will not do the letter. At that place, there was Mr. Etiebet, who was the only staff of the NDDC that was present at that meeting. When he finished, he now asked Dr. Cairo to go and send for the letter-headed paper from the office. They now sent for the letter-headed paper. Dr. Cairo now did the letter, which I've also submitted to the committee, alleging that Senator Nwobushi had contracts. Then he said, I must sign the cover letter. I said, if I sign any document from me seen by Mr. President, he will believe every line of it. So I will only write that the EDP, who should know about projects, has gone. The next thing that he told me, he said, I must make sure that all these people leave and that the procurement, because apparently Akpabio, before I came, when himself and Festus Keyamo were ministers, their first meeting at the commission, he was awarded 30 contracts for distilting and water hyacinth. Mr. Linus, who was the director finance, refused to sign because it did not follow due process. He also said that I should implicate the chairman of the House Committee, because the chairman of the House Committee had gone to Ondo State for a meeting to plan against him. Water hyacinth and distilting. They said that the budget for water hyacinth and distilting was, I think, for about 3 to 5 billion. I'm not sure exactly how much. But that the NDDC, before I came, had overstretched itself to about 50 billion for water hyacinth and distilting. And so the National Assembly had written us, they have it also, they had written us that we should not pay for anything like that. He said, and guess what? Akpabio never signs any documents. He will always refuse to sign, but he will tell you to go and commit the fraud. For instance, he told me to go and raise a memo and give an emergency contract for flood victims. He wanted me to take an oath. He has denied that, but I want to say today, he told me up to 3 times until we had a reconciliation meeting at the villa in the house of Mr. Sadiki Abba, who is the SA to the president on domestics. In that meeting was Alhaji Mekano. He said the only condition was if I take the oath. I refused to take the oath, and I did not take that oath. And I will never take the oath from him. So he said he was going to remove me. He started a campaign of calumny against me. He said I did not answer him because the facts will speak for itself. Now, to end this matter about the procurement process, I refused to go with him to deceive Mr. President at the FEC meeting, because the Procurement Act says if I contravene any section of the Procurement Act, it's 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. So if I go and say they should pay for the process, if you see, they say it's for 2020 budget. Akpabio went to get the approval from FEC. The 2020 budget has not even been discussed by the National Assembly till today. The 2020 budget has not been passed. However, he lied to FEC, which is the greatest embarrassment in this country, for a budget that has not been passed, for an approval to be given for that procurement. I refused to go because he wanted me to send the money for the procurement to the ministry to implement the forensic audit. I refused. I am challenging him to deny any of these allegations because I have to round up for you people. But all the facts and all that I've said are all written in my document.